answers. Will the universe ever give the Buffalo Bills a break when it comes to these injuries? And is John Brown the answer that we have been looking for? There's all this on today's episode of The Dom Mafia Show. Yo ho ho, Bills Mafia. Welcome to yet another edition of the Dom Mafia Show. As always, your host, Dan Mitchell. To say that you're new here, I am an avid member of the Bills Mafia, and I put out videos about the Buffalo Bills and the NFL on a regular basis. So say that that's your cup of tea. I highly recommend subscribing. Say that you're watching this on YouTube, and subscribing if you are listening to this over a podcast, and as always, smashing the ever-living out of that like button. Yeah, Bills Mafia, you read that title correctly. If it hasn't gotten any worse, the Buffalo Bills injury report is just through the roof. I feel like I probably could have made a video or an episode on this for, it seems like, the entire season, but it seems like that we're really hitting our breaking point. Despite the fact that we have not had a home game, a real home game, in the past 3 to 4 weeks, we're going into Foxborough, most likely lost our star defensive end in Von Miller for the entire season. More on that in a bit. This whole team is absolutely ravished. I mean, honestly, I was looking over what has happened, and yes, they're banged up. And yes, this team is banged up with various injuries. However, it seems like that a flu bug has been going through the locker room. I remember last week there was a couple of players that were not in participation, but it seems like a second wave has hit this organization. Now, this includes Ciaran Neal, Jordan Poyer, which is an absolute travesty, Dane Jackson, Jaquan Johnson, Nyheim Hines, Tyler Matakevich, Khalil Shakir, and Quentin Morris. And all of these guys had to sit out on practice on Sunday with that bug. That's not including the 3 that couldn't play due to an injury. And that just so happened to be Von Miller and AJ Epinesa and Deion Dawkins. While the Bills have already had a very jacked up practice schedule, I would say, for the past 3 weeks, this is certainly not helping. As in, from what I have been seeing, practice has really only been centralized around individual and very, very small team drills due to all of these absences, and also due to this cluster of a schedule that we have had. So the Buffalo Bills are yet again going to have to make adjustments as we prepare for the New England Patriots, who have a top 5 defense in the entire NFL this coming Thursday. Now, I don't want to give an entire rain cloud of doubt and worry. I do have some positive news, and that just so happens to be that Tremaine Edmonds, who we missed dearly, dearly against the Lions, Mitch Morse, likewise, missed him dearly, and Gregory Rousseau, who we are in desperate need of some defensive end depth, have all returned to practice. Now, there is no designation of whether or not that any of these 3 are able to play on Thursday, but that is always a good sign that they are at least starting to get some snaps. Our team is spread out thin. I believe even the players that are healthy are still not even 100%, but that is certainly a good sign because we literally need all hands on deck, especially when it comes to the offensive line and offensive side of things. From there, it sounds like that Trey White has been getting a hell of a lot of snaps in practice. We all know that he only ended up playing 2 series against the Detroit Lions. Very interested to see how McDermott slowly progresses Trey White back into this season. My best guess, the Patriots offense, led by Mac Jones or Bailey Zappi, who knows if Mac gets benched in the first quarter and Zappi comes in, or who knows what Belichick is going to do during this game. However, neither of them have been very effective with their wide receiver options. So I'm not necessarily seeing Trey White going out there and playing 100% of defensive snaps. I could see maybe 4 to 5 series, and then next week slowly but surely start reintroducing him into the overall scheme. But while there is a giant rain cloud of doubt within this organization, it's very, very good to see that those names are starting to be back into the practice rotation. Second up, we need to just give a giant shout out to the return of John Brown. I'm sure all of us saw the news a few days ago, some very sneaky news at least, where the Buffalo Bills ended up re-signing John Brown. And This, in my opinion, has to be one of the smartest moves that our organization has done in quite some time. We've felt like there has been something missing from this receiver room, right? Whether or not that people are talking about that they want OBJ, or maybe they want to start placing in other receivers outside of the slot, or they wanted to make another free agent move, you name it. I think that the John Brown practice squad signing was yet again another example of how brilliant Brandon Beane may be. Is he as talented as OBJ? No. However, is he as familiar with Josh Allen, the Buffalo Bills, the offensive scheme? Was he a 1,000-yard receiver for the Buffalo Bills not too long ago? 110%. This signing right here, I have a feeling, is going to be one of the most impactful signings that we have made so far this year. And I can already imagine there's going to be a lot of feedback from fans saying, oh, once he left the Bills, he didn't do anything. He was not effective at all. He's washed up. I would probably have to disagree with you. Some players just come alive within particular systems. There's a bunch of wonderful examples. Jordan Phillips and Shaq Lawson, right? Once they ended up going to other teams, they didn't really do much as far as the production scale was concerned. But when they come back to Buffalo, look at both of them. Very, very effective with this team. I think that John Brown is going to be the exact same way because Gabe Davis has not progressed the way that we wanted them to. Isaiah McKenzie, well, he had a great game against the Lions, and he's normally due for about 1 or 2, maybe even 3 good games a year. John Brown, the John Brown edition is at the very least great insurance, but I am almost willing to bet to you that this man right here was not signed with the intention to leave him on the practice squad for the entire season. We may not see him on Thursday, but I could see him being activated and seeing quite a few snaps within the next game or two. I really do. The chemistry that he has with Josh Allen, I mean, he was his number one for years. 1,000-yard season, absolutely fast. His workout video suggests that he still has plenty of athleticism on the plate. I think that this is a tremendous signing, and I think that this might be what tips us over the edge on the offensive side of the ball. Honestly, I'm choosing him over Odell Beckham Jr., at least for the short term. And because while OBJ is coming off of an ACL injury, he's also going to need time to not only get his footing back in general as an athlete, but still get used to our offensive scheme, still get used to working with Josh Allen, the way that Ken Dorsey calls plays. John Brown has a lot of that experience, and he's going to be able to make a significant impact very, very, very quickly. So, Bills Mafia, thank you so much for tuning in to yet another edition of the Dom Mafia Show. Do me a favor, leave a comment on your thoughts on the rain cloud of injuries that has been plaguing us for the past couple of weeks, and then also the John Brown signing. Was this smart? Do you foresee him getting a lot of playing time if he were to get elevated to the roster? Thank you so much for tuning in, and before I let you go, better always remember, let's go Buffalo.